Call the meeting to order. Respect everyone's time. We'll rise for the pledge. Doug, would you start us off?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
Nathan Viss.
Here.
Eric Whittam.
Here.
Doug Spencer.
Here.
Jolie Kovich.
Here.
Randy Niemeyer.
Present.
Tracy Haskell.
Here.
Brian Smith.
Absent.
Nathan, do you have the master switch
Robert
on?
Carnahan.
Here.
Rick Elberly.
Here.
David Austin. Ryan Dudemeyer.
Present.
Jennifer Sandberg. Terry Knowles. Here.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Ryan, welcome to the RDC for the first time. We appreciate you being in attendance. I did have a nice phone call with Mr. Austin earlier. He could not make it. We have his more than able replacement here this evening. So Ryan, more than welcome, and thank you for your work. I know that you're working for us in a couple of the capacities that you'll report on later.
Absolutely.
Also, want to report Brian Smith has not been here in some time. He represents the Crown Point School District as their liaison. I did have a phone call with him following our last meeting. He reached out to say that he's been actively following, reading our minutes. And if ever we have anything to report to him specifically, he said to reach out, but he has been staying in contact. That way he appreciates the work that we are doing. So I wanted to pass that along.
And also, he has a school board meeting on this night. That's why he doesn't attend.
You know, I tried to tell him that he needs to get that changed, but he said that he couldn't.
Well,
So-
we changed our meeting.
I know we did. Yep. So, all right, moving along, we're going to start off as we have for the last, I believe, 9 months with our Explore Everyday Community recognition. For those new in attendance, it dawned upon us, I think, last March, April, in the early midst of COVID, that we've got a lot of good business folks here in this town. Specifically, it was the onset of the marketing or the market that's been going on in town that brought this to our attention. And one of the things we decided we wanted to do is take just a few minutes from each of our meetings to recognize those businessmen and women that have decided to invest their time, their efforts, their family's time here in town. We recognize there's a lot of locations here in Northwest Indiana that you can choose to invest in. And we appreciate those who have either decided to move recently to the area or have been longstanding members of this community. And last month, it was Beach Palette, Lynette Kubel, that was nominated. So we've had your husband here several times, and we enjoy having him present. And we've also seen your handiwork behind the scenes in some of his submissions, perhaps. No, it could be him too. But either way, I have heard great things. I've seen great things online from Beach Palette. So we wanted to highlight your business, allow you a few moments to share with us, and we'd like to give you a certificate. Take your picture and we'll promote your business on our Facebook page and hopefully draw even more folks to the business that you're operating. So if you want to come forward, introduce yourself and tell us what you got going on.
Opened up the business about a year ago. We'll be open 1 year on June 5th. And it's just been a real pleasure. It's been so much fun. We started with a retail in front where I offer a lot of handmade goods from people from the area. So there's a lot of artists that have come into the shop, anywhere from like wood making to pottery. Different people that grew up here in the area that are also artists that have a few things in the shop. And then I started running classes. And so we started running classes. We run board and brush. We run paint night for adults. We run watercolor classes for kids, macrame classes. We just have a lot of fun there with the community. So it's been a real pleasure. And thank you very much.
Absolutely. So what sort of classes do you have coming up in the future plan?
Well, I have a list here. I have quite a bit. So on the 19th, we have an adult paint night. On the 20th, we have a knitting class. On the 26th, we have macrame. And on April 3rd, we have a kids class where we're going to stencil totes. And on the 10th, we have a kite coloring for ages 3 and up. So we are also doing some American Sign Language courses, which has been a real success as well. And just kind of going to dabble into a few more things like that as well.
So are you teaching all these classes? Is your
No, I
daughter, is your
hire
husband, or?
instructors and I
Okay.
do teach some classes, but it is some long days. I'm there till like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, but it's been really fun. And I just feel really blessed to be able to do it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Questions, comments from the commission?
On the adult paint nights, if those adults, wish to participate and they bring their own bottle of wine or whatever, can they enjoy your adult paint night, or is that,
Yes, they can, because I closed the shop. The shop is officially closed.
okay,
It then kind of becomes like a private event in the back. I have a
okay,
huge back room. We usually can house about 24 adults back there, but with COVID, we've been, like, I've had to really shorten it to about 12 to 15, set up some extra tables in a few other areas. But yeah, some people do bring wine. That's why we call them the adult paint night and board and brush. Some people want to bring their children, and I just tell them that we have other classes for the kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, can you rent out the facility for the night too if you have a group?
Yeah, I do a lot of birthday parties. I do a lot of private parties. Diane Justice just booked her twins' 21-year-old birthday party there. So we'll be burning on driftwood. We do like a lot of driftwood art as well. I go to Lake Michigan, I collect all the driftwood, and then we create stuff with it. We're getting into doing some recycling projects with the kids where we're using the glass jars and we're creating adornments for hanging in trees. Just trying to like get the kids involved in doing some different types of art and recyclable art as well.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's really fun. Thank
She
you
has
so much.
also done a lot of teaching in a number of different school systems too.
Yeah, I worked with special needs kids for many years, so I really have a passion to work with children. That's why I got into the sign language course, because I did work with deaf kids for 7 years. So
Okay.
it's really cool to have them learn that,
It is.
yeah, and open up a deaf child's world a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It all used to be reading lips, right, from many years ago.
Reading lips,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have an aunt that's deaf, so that's how she was taught about 50 years ago.
yeah, because the parents didn't sign.
Yep.
But today, a lot more parents sign.
Okay.
So if they can learn sign at a young age, then they're much better off in the future. Reading lips is very hard. And the mask situation has made it really difficult for the deaf people.
Yeah.
I have a few deaf people in my shop who create art. One makes my business cards, and she also crochets these little buddies for the kids for gifts. The shop itself has become kind of like a gift shop, so people come in and buy gifts. And she made herself a mask that was open, that was clear, and was asking if I could, promote that for her, because it's very hard if you read lips. And the elder deaf people, that is how they were taught.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
do a tie-dye Tuesday at the shop where you can come in anytime on Tuesday and tie-dye. It's $15. I try to keep all the classes really cheap. I try to keep the kids' classes at $10 so the kids can come in on Saturday as well. And we call it Freestyle Saturday. And for $10, they can come in and they can paint whatever they want on canvas. They can use all the stencils. I provide everything for them. The parents kind of leave them, and then they go to the sip and have coffee for an hour, and then they come back and pick them up. So it's really fun.
Wow. It's incredible. What I appreciate the most about what you just shared with us is the ingenuity, the constant evolving and expansion of differing ideas that are all somehow related, but they're all unique and different. So kudos as a business owner to your
Thank you so
adaptability.
much. It's really been a blessing.
Good for you. Congrats to you and the family. So
Thank you.
thank you. The family would like you to come forward, take a picture. Because of COVID, we won't come alongside you, but feel free to display this in your shop. Your family come forward. What's your daughter's name?
Molly.
Molly, welcome. Be proud of mom and dad.
Thank you.
You put on some shows out there too?
Oh, yeah.
Or just cleaning up?
Molly
Yeah.
works at the SIP.
I do look at this. I'm not as tall as Sarah is, so I have to hold the phone up a little higher. Do one more time. I think I've got a couple good ones, but
Okay.
Thank you.
one more's going, I think. I got one.
Wait for the flash bulb. All right. Kuvels, thank you much. We appreciate it. Good to see you this evening. All right. Let's continue forward with our consent agenda. We've got 2 items on the consent agenda. One, approval of February 22, 2021 meeting minutes, as well as claims Fund 404 in the amount of 0 and Fund 804 in the amount of $70,739.95. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Doug. Discussion. Hearing none, call for roll, please.
Julie Kovach,
Yes.
Doug Spencer,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer,
Yes.
Eric Burnham,
Yes.
Nathan Viss.
Yes. One quick note from that. I did notate, we've got here the second item to pay out of Fund 804 is Veritas Group for comprehensive plan update. Randy, one question there, just so that we formalize it. Is that something that we want to split with town council, those ongoing costs, the comp plan update, or what's your thought on that?
Because the comp plan update involves so much of the TIF district and commercial development, that'll probably be a cost sharing item would be my guess.
Okay.
I don't know if we've spelled out clearly, maybe in the budget, what was the budget for it, Jen?
I don't remember what the ultimate amount of proposal was, but I did split it evenly between council, TIF, and some of the utilities.
Okay, do we just maybe have a recommendation from town council at our next meeting to say this is how we'd recommend and suggest that it be allocated between these parties?
Well, I believe that was all adopted in the budget for year
So be
2021.
in the budget, use that as a vehicle?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So then do we just want to rely on Jen moving forward for allocation between the 3? We good with that?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, those invoices should be equally split, right?
There's a purchase order entered in the system, and so each time an invoice comes in for Veritas, for that specific work order, we mark it for the appropriate purchase order, and then my spells it out.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Next, I'm going to move around on the agenda. I'm going to move the clerk treasurer's funds report up to here. Jen, if you want to give us an update.
Is the allocation report coming first? Did you get the raise that I don't have any on
This,
It's right there.
It's all right.
So there's not much, really, there's not much to report, other than at the last meeting, I reported to you that we received roundabout reimbursement as well as the local match from Hanover Community School Corporation for 133rd and King. We have since also received another roundabout reimbursement. And as you just approved within the claims, we recently sent out the check for the letting for 133rd and King. So that project will really get moving now. Hopefully, we're dependent on NDOT with that. The fund balance is still pretty healthy. Really, we're moving pretty quick with your facade grant program. And then we've got some road projects in the queue, but otherwise, until we really hone in on what sort of projects you all want to see for the next year, 5 years, however we plan it out. A lot of that will be spelled out in the sustainability plan. End of the month, we should have a better update on that for you all. I know Corey is really working on it, getting it pretty complete. So if you have any questions for me.
And then just so that we're all aware, I think we quickly did some math of the facade grant for 2021. We've issued out checks in the amount of $12,101.82. Total with everything else that we've apportioned granted out was that we have $77,700 left as a remaining balance, I think roughly is what we said.
Yeah, give or take.
Okay. All right. Any questions for clerk treasurer? Hearing none. All right. Thank you, Jen. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Move on to new business. Explore Everyday Community Recognition nomination. Do we have any suggestions for this evening?
Did, I think TJT Tires had not been recommended prior, I don't believe. Might help my memory.
No.
I think I'm the old.
I got some ginkgo here.
I think that would be my referral.
Is that a motion?
It is.
T&J Tire?
TJT.
TJT?
TJT?
Second on it?
Is that the folks right around the corner here?
Yes.
Good folks. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion? All right, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Julie Kovach,
Yes.
Doug Spencer,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer,
Yes.
Eric Burnham,
Yes.
Nathan Viss.
Yes. All right, thank you. Appreciate that recommendation. They've serviced both my wife and I's vehicle in the past year very well. All right, so then we'll work on sending out that request this week. All right, facade grant application 2021, new applicants. We have applicant 21-5 Cedar Lake Early Learning Academy, 13410 Wicker Avenue. Clarissa Regula? Regula? Regula. All right, come on forward, Clarissa. Share with us what you're thinking.
All right, well, did you guys get the packet that we dropped off with what the building looks like now and what we're hoping it will look like?
Yes, ma'am.
So we purchased the building a few months ago, and Hen and Son has been working very hard to get it reformatted to fit roughly about 100 students in there, and it's well on its way. Walls are being painted and the flooring's going down, so we're really close. We've spent a huge part of our budget trying to make sure that the inside of the building is safe.
Can you pull your mic down with me having a mask on and all?
I don't mind pulling it down.
Oh,
So when we found out that there was a facade grant through the town, we thought we would apply so that we could hopefully make the outside of the building look as beautiful as the inside of the building.
Take us through what you're all looking to do on the exterior of the building, ma'am.
I'm gonna have John step up real quick so he can kind of tell you in a.
John, what's your last name, sir?
John Henn with Henn and Sons Construction.
Oh, I believe you're in here last
Yeah.
2 months ago.
Yeah, like a month ago. or
Yep,
so.
good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
All right, what you thinking, sir?
So basically, we're looking to put a 412 pitch roof, like a shed roof, basically, right off the front. That's going to be, it's going to have cedar posts that are wrapped on the bottom in cedar with a cedar beam, and then there's going to be aluminum soffit underneath the underside of that roof. But to keep costs down, we're not going to try to affect the sidewalk, the existing sidewalk there at all. So we're basically the posts are going to be into the parking lot, just in, so that way when we wrap it with cedar, it'll be right up against an existing sidewalk. And then we plan to put new metal right up on the tops and the bottom. Actually, on here, it says existing corrugated metal to remain. But actually with since we're already buying all the metal, the cost difference to just put new metal on the bottom is so minimal that we're actually just going to end up replacing.
Can I see what you're looking at? Do I have
Yeah,
that?
it's the same thing, just a lot bigger. I think you have.
It's this page right here.
Kind of under
Oh, it's this one back here? All right. Okay, I got it.
You got the black and white
Yeah,
version.
this is in there. Everything on here is correct except for the existing corrugated metal on the bottom there. It's all gonna be all new metal. And we also plan to redo the landscaping up front. I've been waiting for a quote back from Leo's on that. But I do have a picture here, if you guys want to look on basically the general idea. Kind of what the plan, I'll just pass that around. There's 2 pages here. So that's also on the sign, you see the existing sign that's there. We plan to put some arborvitae's up and down. This will all be, reseeded in grass.
The snow doesn't stick around?
Yeah.
The snow doesn't stick around?
Unfortunately not.
Here you go, sir.
Oh, okay, you guys saw it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's basically the plan.
Okay. And the amount that you've got here, Clarissa, the 46,205.33, that's all exterior costs?
It also includes
The
the
roof.
roof as well.
And the exterior
And all landscaping.
and all plans.
The landscaping is not on that, but it'll be probably an extra 1,000 or so. I don't have the quote back from Leo's yet, so I don't know the exact cost on that.
There's a really nice warranty deed in here, I must say.
Yeah.
The roof, that's all forward facing that you're referencing?
I know.
You're talking about, the roof that's in the quote is the actual roof that's on the building.
All visible from the
That's-
road?
Yeah, on there. But yeah, you can see it from the road.
Okay. Questions from the commission?
I just wondered what all, is this the final amount?
No, right here, 46,205.33.
I didn't quite catch it. Is the sign also going to be, I'm going to call it the road sign? Yeah, that's also going to be changed too?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Did I hear you right? You bought the building?
Mhm.
Oh, so you bought it from Yancey's?
Mhm.
I didn't know that.
Yes, we're really excited to move. We've been squeezing in our current location for 4 years and we've been busting at the seams since day one almost.
It's definitely a needed service, needed expandable service, because the community's growing so much, so
Every day, probably 20 calls.
you'll probably grow out of there fast.
I know. I already feel like it's small. We haven't even been yet.
Is there another early learning center in Cedar Lake?
We are right now on 41.
You're the only one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because like, what was there, Grand Tots or something? They had something too. Are they gone?
No, they're still in business.
They're still there?
That's next to Holy Name.
Right. There's kids that still go there?
It's definitely a need and
No, I
years
know.
ago, yeah, no, I know you're not saying
I
it's
just
not.
don't
I'm
know.
just like, yeah. Yeah, there's churches used to do it, but I think it's wonderful that you're coming into town. It's great.
You're gonna continue to operate both buildings?
No, actually, since we purchased this building and we've been leasing the other one, we're gonna
That's up to
close
the
that
commission.
location and move all the kiddos
Is that
over
what we've
to
been doing?
the bigger building.
I think so.
2.0 or 2.5?
You did the math already?
That's it. Change two.
Well, yeah, this is 20.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
That's a very nice-
Go ahead.
Check with the building department, there's nothing other than building permit that will need to be issued for this.
I was
There's
like,
no
where, I
special
only see,
variances
oh,
or
25.
any other plan commission
All right.
items that need to be considered, so
Okay.
this is perfect ready.
Right. All right, what's the pleasure of the commission?
I would like to do 25.
25% of their cost.
All right, so the motion is made to apportion 25% of the cost, which is how much, Doug?
11,551.
11,551.
I didn't
Motion
get
is
46,205, right?
Yeah. I think
Okay,
that's-
then, okay.
Motion is made by Eric. Is that a second by Doug? Discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Julie Kovach.
Yes.
Doug Spencer.
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes.
Eric Burnham.
Yes.
Nathan Viss.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, when we've gone kind of out of our tradition of 20%, we've kind of cited why we do that as a way to make sure we're treating people fairly. And I think for this project, looking at it, number one is it's ready. It's a project that, as Rick said, is fully prepared. Number two, it's an already existing business in town. So it's more of an expansion of a current service and a very needed service. So I think with those two criteria, it allows for us to separate this out from our normal 20% and go to 25 because of those two things being present. It's definitely something that is a very needed service, and currently she's operating a business that is full. So we know that it's going to be up and running and very productive.
And I'd like
Congratulations,
to-
folks.
I'd like to add too,
Yeah.
for that conversation, just to add another point. He also didn't incorporate the landscaping, and he said that would be another 1,000. And also with what he described, the quality of materials and things that you are using, it's not on a smaller scale of, it sounds like it's everything is going to be top notch that
Oh,
Hens are doing. So that's another reason why I'm in support of the extra 5%.
Very good. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys very much.
All right, next we have applicant 21-6 Midway LLC, 13050 Wicker Avenue. Mr. Lindemulder is here to present. I'm going to relinquish the chair during this presentation due to my business relationship with Mr. Lindemulder and the fact that
Linda Moore. Linda, how you pronounce it?
Lindemulder.
I'm just gonna call you Eric. It'll be
That
nice,
that
right,
works,
Eric?
hey.
I'm Eric. You're Eric. We're all.
He's
good.
Eric Burnham.
Yeah.
Can I make just one real quick comment?
Go ahead.
Mr. Lindemulder actually rearranged his schedule so that his son's 5th birthday dinner tonight, so that he could be here at this meeting.
Well, happy birthday to
Ty.
Todd. How you want?
Ty, T-Y.
What's his name?
Ty.
Todd or Ty?
Ty.
Okay.
And in your shoes.
You want to go ahead and say what you want to do? Have you been? Is this the same project that we talked about last year that you came in front of us?
Yes, so it was approved, but then we
pulled it back so that we could approve the other one because funds were short.
I do recall that. Okay.
Our funds are short, yeah.
Our funds.
So now
our
there's,
funds
yeah,
came
the game
short.
plan was to come back after the first of the year.
I completely understand. You want to start over and
Yep.
say what
yep.
you want to do with this.
So it's the building right next to Frank's Barbecue. And I do have a potential tenant now because that was some of the questions of what we're redoing it for and whatnot. And that's in part of my agreement with them is that I would fix up the building, which I think is going to help bring anyone. So even if I think these guys are pretty serious, but if they don't, it's going to bring someone else. And again, it's just improves the top. But it's tuck pointing, repairing block. The front would be tearing off. I had two options, either replacing with steel the front overhang or pulling it off completely. Once we start pulling it off, we'll see what's more feasible. But the game plan is to redo new brick across the whole front and do all new windows. It would be commercial grade windows and doors. On the sides, there are some windows that have been blocked in over the years. We're going to cut those out and put more windows in on the front and both sides. The roof is a big question. Once we start tearing off, I mean, supposedly it was redone years ago, but I feel like I may have to redo a lot of it so there's no leaks, especially if we're going to redo the whole inside. So that's the wild card I didn't include in there. If all of a sudden I tear out the ceiling inside and we got to replace rafters and redo the whole roof, hoping it doesn't come to that, but yeah, it's a big project. So I'm trying.
You're doing paving too?
Yep. On the front, we'll repave. The game plan is repave the whole front. The back can be patched, seal coated, and then the front culvert, repairing that, making sure that's good. I've talked with INDOT already. That's a couple years out as to how they'll do their curb cuts. But what else? Signage would be part of it. There's already an existing sign that we'd either reface that, but that'd be reface existing. I would like to, it depends on how much it comes to, but I like ground signs as opposed to up higher, but then also a sign on the front of the building. So it'd be up against, if we replace the whole overhang, it'd be all brick, and then it'd be, I ideally want either channel set or metal, and it can be backlit or light lit from the
And
front.
you pulled a permit for this job already too?
We have it pending, so depending on, yeah, I haven't submitted, but I have not paid for it and I have not picked it up.
What is the business that's going to go there?
It's a gun shop. So I already talked to the building department, and it does have to be, the occupancy has to get a variance too, just because it's not a set business. But we've had other gun shops, and I think one had a fire, and so they relocated, and it's a gun shop and academy. So they're legit. They have another location in Illinois. They like to have one in Indiana, just because of state law stuff. Then there's no waiting. They're very, I don't want any businesses that aren't like professional, and that's what I've been fighting with over the last couple of years. Not fighting with, but just there's a lot of people interested in the building, but just I don't want just anyone. Like I want to make sure it's a professional, something that's worth fixing it up for. Because I've got a lot of contractors, a lot of small engine repair guys. Like everyone wants to occupy it, and I could have rented it out already, but I want good, solid businesses that have a value to the town. And so this is one of the best ones that I've had so far, and it's worth putting the money into it and hopefully keeping them around.
So being that there was no permit pulled for this particular job yet, is there a rule that we have to go with on that?
No, what we want is,
We had discussed the whole having it,
Ready?
yeah, having gone and discussed it, correct?
Yeah, Eric, I have a couple questions, if that's okay. Looking at the estimates that you have, and like one from DeMott Glass, K&T Masonry, and Dynamic Iron are in a very generic format, like the other ones from Affordable Garage Door, Orsma Electric, they're all on their letterhead. Is there a reason that those other businesses, and Engelberg Roofing too, didn't put it in a professional form? Is there a reason that they didn't do that?
Some of the contractors probably aren't super professional, or it's, I mean, I have some that are handwritten that I know you guys didn't like before. So some of them I had formatted, but some of them, they have QuickBooks, and that's how QuickBooks formats it.
I use QuickBooks too, and we still have it on our letterhead, you know, when we invoice people or estimate things.
Not all. Some of them make it on Word, but I can get formal estimates. Now, some of them
It
are
just looks
from,
informal. That was all I'm saying, Eric, is that. you
some
know,
of them are from over a year ago too,
Mhm.
if you see dates on them.
Are those still good estimates at this
Yeah.
point?
I know all these contractors personally, so they're gonna differ, but I don't wanna like run them through a rat race,
I understand.
re-updating it.
I'm just saying that, you know, for the sake of making sure that we have like up-to-date numbers. it's
If
probably-
anything, it's gonna be higher. And that's my fear, because cost of materials have gone up. So one of them, like, they didn't wanna update it. You see, like, I wrote on there, like I crossed it off and wrote what the new amount was.
Yeah, like you have a siding one from August of 20. I mean, that price ain't gonna be good.
No, it's going up. But at the same time, I know what the ballpark pricing and all this stuff is. This is not gonna be cheap.
Yeah. You doing the math there?
Yeah, I'm trying, I'm going through the thing, like the roof, be it that it's repair and or that you have to replace the membrane on there. The roof, I'm flagging here because that wouldn't qualify for facade type shot if it's the roof. So that wouldn't be part of the thing there. And everything else follows right in suit. The paint is for the painting of the exterior, right?
Yeah, the block. So we'll have to
Correct.
patch. And some of it may be worse. That's what they said too. They don't want to give firm numbers. They don't know how bad it's going to be once they start doing it, how long it's going to take. I don't necessarily want them to tuck point the whole entire thing, but if they can just repair what's needed, that's going to be the goal. But there's a lot of stuff that was done a little janky, that we're going to have to cut black out and repair stuff both on the inside and the outside.
I guess okay, I finally got to the final, all the things that are included in this, just because you've got quite a few different, you got paint, landscaping, siding. I can read my writing here. Paving, right, you're gonna pave the parking lot. The sign, you've got iron for the sign, and then you've got the electrical to feed to the sign, and your masonry, right? Did I miss anything there?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
Is there a sheet, is there a sheet with the total on it here presented, or what was your total?
My total, I think on the email I put, is going to be between, it depends on some wild cards, but it's going to be between 100 and 150.
What I've gotten adding up the proposals that are here is 89,043.
Yeah,
That's minus the roofing.
I don't see what you're saying, because I saw the first page that said 100 plus or minus, and then I'm just a quick through these all. It didn't appear to be.
Per Doug's
Yeah.
citation of the roofing, I subtracted that out and came out to 89,043. Maybe I'm wrong.
1, 2, 5.
I'll add it
Now,
in.
I thought roofing was actually in there. Repairs, you guys have in the proposal that roofing is eligible.
Is that something I'm missing there, or am I thinking of the roofing
Okay,
as
so
long
for
as it's
the,
public
how about
facing.
we go with, for the record, let's start, our
Public
first
facing.
is 12,500, and that is Demont Glass.
Correct.
Okay, then we have 3020 to affordable garage.
That's a quarter
That's
of
that one.
Okay, then we have 7,500 to Borisma Electric. And next we have for the masonry work, 12,500. Dynamic iron is 10,000. 6,500 should be for Ennigerberg roofing. The paving is 19,993, but let's just round it to 20. 7,450 we have for the Baltima builders. 10,000 for landscaping. Painting decor is 6080. And there I'm at the end of the presentation. So
Also,
what did that come to?
60, 80.
Jif,
108,000.
yeah, Jif paving has another 8,000 if they go with another option to
What's your,
parking lot.
what's your
Okay.
total there, Brandy?
I didn't round the
Oh.
paving, so it came to $108,043.
And then he said there was a second option that is an additional 8,000.
And that sign could be easily double. If they redo the whole front sign, 10,000
Well,
is.
yeah, and this
cheap
isn't
end.
representative of anything that you've done since we've seen you last time, but at our end of the year, beginning of the year meeting, we've concluded that we are going to be sure that all the presentations are precise and clear and concise, and that, and because we've had some very, very nice packets made, and we're completely aware, and the person is Randy said preparation is important, how you prepare yourself for your presentation does, because we're giving away so much money, there's very few people that we have been able to give it to, and we just want to make sure that,
Oh, that
to
makes
say
sense.
it could be double or plus or minus, we'd rather have a whole number. That's what,
No, I agree.
And roofs are an eligible expense, provided where the effects of the repair will be visible from a public street or public parking lot. So obviously, it's a flat roof.
It's a flat roof.
The sloped roof is visible with the other.
Right, or if you have an awning off the front.
Yeah, well, that does have an awning. I assume that's staying, right?
It has an awning, well, we're gonna see how bad it is. If it's bad, I'm gonna tear it off and I'm gonna re-brick up the whole front. So
Then there'll be no roof.
And the
that's where, well, no, the roof from the side view is
8,000
slanted.
from,
So if you, in between
8,000
from Frank's
he
side,
has an additional.
it is sloped. You see the
oh
roof.
yeah, paving is definitely in there. I got it at 19, but there's an
You're looking
additional
at it from
8,000?
This is the other side.
Randy came to 108.
My picture only shows the one side.
One side.
8,000, so I don't know why that.
I'm at 127.
So that roof is
I don't
shingled?
know what we're not adding.
No,
I know.
it is, it's got
The
a,
whole thing.
and that's where I don't know how like legit they did it, but it's like a sheet of like, it's not really tar, it's like a sheet of rubber that they like put around all the edges and cornered it. So it definitely needs to be like a commercial roofer that's gonna either repair the edges or redo it. So I mean, there's some wild cards here. Until we actually jump into it, that's where some of these things are hard to get hard numbers, because once
Well,
you
the
open
thing
it
is to
up.
delegate the money on a wild card. I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that not only Eric, you get yours, but all the other applicants that are coming through, we're in March. So I just want to make sure that we're doing our job to make sure that money delegated is evenly distributed through the community of people that put the money into it.
So what I put on, what the estimate is 6,000 to 12,000 for the roof, which it's easily gonna need 6,000 worth of stuff to it. I mean, the wild card, is like crazy higher, but that's,
25.
yeah,
Well,
that's
we've
on
talked
me.
about it before.
Yeah.
It's obvious you bought it's a building that is in need of
Some love.
significant repair. It's not like what we had prior to you where it's just a true facade. I mean, you're coming to us for almost everything, single exterior thing on the building, which that whole building, like you said, until you get into it, you're like one of the flippers that you won't know. But we can't account for your future problems, so to speak.
No,
You know.
I know.
Right.
I'm just saying, like,
Right.
I'm trying to explain that I'm not overestimating anything. If anything, my estimates are very fair, and if nothing else, they will be high.
Yeah, I understand.
Eric has in here some detailed parts of his proposal. Like if I go back to the one that was just previously before us, the Henn & Sons construction job that they're doing at the Early Learning Center, they've got things spelled out extremely detailed with costs down to the penny and a bunch of detail. And on some of Eric's stuff here, like the windows, the glass, that's a detailed proposal. The garage door, Boersma Electric, all detailed, but then the masonry, dynamic iron, Enigenberg roofing, Baltimore builders, none of that's very detailed as it relates to looking at what we've been seeing in front of us. So not to say that these aren't legitimate estimates, but in comparison to what we've seen this year is that people have been very meticulously detailed as to their exact costs, what things are going towards, and down to the penny. There's a lot of 12,500s in here.
Would you want to get a more concise estimates with the actual verbiage of what their intent is and defer, or do you want us to only consider?
Listen, I'm not saying that that's a set of criteria that we can even consider in the policy that we have in front of us.
Oh.
I'm just pointing out, in comparison to what we've seen
And approved.
and approved,
Right.
this doesn't contain near as much detail. It all may very well meet the criteria. But the only concern I have with allocating taxpayer money for these sorts of things is making sure that these projects are dialed in.
Well, and most people have presented, when they present a bid for the sign, they literally have a picture of what's to come. So, paving, obviously, that is pretty standard.
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's parts of this proposal in my mind that are very, very
Yeah,
good.
so
Very good.
Yeah, but what was your point to my point saying, would you like us to just take out the specific
My point
thing?
is, I know we have to consider things based on the policy, okay, that we have. But what I'm saying is that there are some things here that leave a lot of question marks.
Right, well, for instance, the sign, we have $10,000 for, it just, it really says, location, install sign in front of building. We don't know what it looks like, we don't know anything about it. We just know that the cost of the sign is $10,000.
So some of the details of the sign is part of the permit of the actual sign to get what the actual scope will be. But until everything's approved and I have like a lease from them, which it's pending some of these things, then they'll put the money in to have it totally mapped out from a sign company, and I'll have it very detailed as to how big it's going to be. I just had my signs done, and that's the guy who did my signs. And if I get them to do the same exact metal sign, that's basically where he said, all right, if they do the same metal. But that's just if they did the sign on the building.
Right.
When they reface the sign by the street, that's going to be more cost too.
I understand, but you're asking me to spend the taxpayers' money on something that I can't visually tell them anything. All I know is I'm going off an estimate of 10,000, and if I go and give you $2,000 for the sign, I don't have any idea what it's going to look like. It's very vague. I can understand wiring, the masonry. I can kind of get that. It's labor. That's what that's talked. That's that later, the labor and the materials to redo the brick. I understand that, but the signage, it's just very blunt. I have no idea what it's may even look like or anything. And that's where I think my holdup is. The windows are fine. Electric is electric. I get it. So, I can understand it. And the masonry one I can get. There's not a lot of detail in masonry. You're going to tuck point and repair a brick. That's what it costs. There's not.
Does it show the existing sign in that picture that I sent? So, if it's just a reface, that's what the existing sign is. But my goal.
Yeah, I don't see an existing sign here.
But but that's where there's an existing sign. But if they did the metal one, which is pretty much what I just did on my building, it's easily going to be, if they make it large, it's going to be $10,000.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So I mean, until I have a signed lease from them, I won't be able to map out exactly what the sign will look like to visualize it. But what is spec'd out there is a thick metal, freshly cut, that'll be like drilled in, screwed into the brick.
So Eric, if we just say we take the number Randy had, like say 110,000 is 20% of that is 22,000. And you're saying that your possible tenant, it's dependent upon what we're going to give you. And I want this, like, I feel like this to me, this program was set up for us to work together. And like it's a very small amount, what we actually are giving you in the scope of what you have planned. So if you're saying, well, yeah, that renter will come if you give us $22,000, but, and then you're prepared, you can't tell them, I've already got the other 90,000 or 100,000 that I'm going to spend, and I'm going to get that started. Like a lot of people come to us and they're like, I've already started, like dollar store, we were doing it. We just now are at a point where we're needing windows, a more specific thing. So if you would like, I mean, I can ask the fellow board members if they would like to pull out those items that are more specific in here and do 20% of those items that Randy listed that are of a good, detail, and then remove the others and give you 20% of that or whatever. I mean, that's just my thought process. Y'all, if you want to, I can make a motion to do that. Just choose the items that he has that are, that give the detailed. Because like Hen and Son, yeah, they're not even doing that many items to the daycare, and they have like 3 pages written out. Demo, saw cut, forms.
Part of the reason, Jolie, that I've kind of myself focused on detail this year in learning more about what we're doing and how we're impacting the TIF district is because if we're focused on detail, we can kind of protect ourselves against people who are just speculating. Like we don't want to be investing in things that could be just flipped right away. We want businesses to be there and there to be a vibrant part of our tax base, something that improves the community. So that's been my mindset. Okay, that's just my thought pattern. So that's why I bring up the things I bring up is because I want to make sure that right now there is no business in there. Eric is talking about a gun shop, which is definitely an important business to have in the communities, especially as our Second Amendment continues to be under attack.
I'm all for the gun shop idea.
I'm a supporter of that for sure. I just want to make sure that we're considering things on facts and details rather than speculating.
And consistency is what you pointed out when we first started. And I want to say that this facade program has been, to me, one of my favorite things about being a part of this commission. I have loved watching it. It's been fruitful. I've been seeing all these different businesses. So we just want to be certain. As a matter of fact, I mean, in the future, I've even mentioned that I'd like to increase the amount of money we use for this because it's just been it's been a blessing to many people. So I'm sure when if we give you these monies, it's going to be a blessing for your future as well. So that's why it's important that we decide how we're going to go about doing this. So Doug?
My 2 cents in it, Eric, is that, and maybe this will help you understand what we're probably talking about, and or maybe if you decided to make a different proposal on this. Just thinking of Leo's, when they did theirs, there was a picture of the sign, and in his estimate that sign company had given to Leo's, there was a breakdown of the monies there, as opposed to 10,000 for running electric. Because of what you're doing, you're trying to put this together for your potential leaser or leasing. You are kind of hitting the mitts on what you want. I guess we're looking more for a solid concrete. Okay, this is what the signs are going to be. This is what we're going to do in Mason. Even T&J has got $10,000, and it was kind of like almost you could see they could spend $10,000. The one that we just got from the Learning Center, I mean, he even had a picture of those Alvarvites plant, sitting up in there. They kind of, what would they call that, print shop down there or whatever, So I guess we're looking for a little bit more than just kind of a $7,500 there. You know, we're looking kind of maybe more pictures or a little more breakdown.
So I think the situation's different than all the other ones, so it's not gonna be exactly the same. I get what you're saying, like to have detail and to have it all.
Yeah, I guess what I'm thinking, it's like, okay, this is what I'm money that I'm gonna need, because I'm gonna need a sign, and I'm gonna need this or whatever, but you don't have the details because you're waiting for, if it isn't the gun shop, some other potential guy, and then he may change things around. And then going along with Randy, say kind of an established business there. Okay, it's got a sign there, it's got this there, and we're looking to improve that facade on it there, as opposed to make a facade for a potential customer coming in.
Eric has some legitimate stuff here, okay? I mean, and this is definitely a property that needs improvement, and it's appreciated that you have that entrepreneurial view of this.
So we want to make this happen.
And in my thoughts, and just thinking out loud here, this is kind of, looks to me like it could be a two-part deal. Is like once Eric gets some updated numbers on some of those ones that are a little bit open-ended,
yeah,
and updated details, there's room in here. This is the type of project that could qualify for the maximum for the year if there's sufficient detail and progress. There's parts of it right now that look like it's ready to go. So that was just my thought. Is it's kind of how I'm leaning and thinking about this right now. Is it looks like parts of it are ready and parts of it aren't.
If everything works out here and I tell them like, all right, this is what we're gonna do, we can make it contingent on like, hey, you gotta, within 2 months, give me an actual picture of what their signs are gonna look like. And I don't see any issues with getting details of their signage and what it's gonna be. I mean, my game plan was, I gotta open up the front of that, but I don't wanna start tearing into it and then it looks even worse if then I put the stops on and be like, you know what, I'm gonna put too much money into this thing and it's not worth it to get the return over a 10-year period to put all this money into it. I might as well just let it sit. And that's what I've kind of held off for 3 years.
So is that $20,000 going to stop you from doing your project? If we don't give you your 20, you're not going to do anything to the building?
I'll do less. It may not look as good. So I'm not saying like, it's just, I'm going back and forth with these guys as to what I'm willing to do and what they're willing to do. And I think it will help it look better all around. And that's kind of what I want to do here, is put more money into it as opposed to renting it to a towing company or a contractor, or like, I want to improve stuff that's on 41. So I know it's a different type of situation, but like everything that's in there until it starts going, like especially the sign, we're not going to know exactly what that looks like yet. I think the 10,000 is very fair. I mean, signs are not cheap. And I'm going to propose to them, and I already have, is saying I want it either to be a channel set, which is backlit, and they cut that through for on the building, or it's going to be metal with lights that shine up on it. Then the front sign, which is also going to be expensive, will either be a monument sign or they're going to reface it. I don't like the current one because it's one that sits up higher and then they just reface what it is and it still kind of looks cheap. I want to get them to do a monument sign, which is lower to the ground. All that would, depending on what it is, it's going to require potentially a variance when they come, because they got to come for the variance anyways, to be a gun shop in Cedar Lake. But that's why there's a lot of, like it can't be definite, but I feel like everything I presented is, it's gonna be that regardless. And that's what I just I wanna move fast on it and do it and not, if it's a two-step thing and I have to come back, I just wanna kind of outline so I know what it is. But I'd rather, knowing that I'll probably put way more money into this, not make it overly complicated.
Do you have more discussion, Randy?
Why are you looking at me?
Oh, you look like you're ready to go.
No, hell, I don't know anything.
All right.
I'm sitting on the end of the dais for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like, I agree with you that these estimates are legitimately what is paid out there. I mean, but then again, when Hen and Son is doing $1,000 worth of landscaping and you have $10,000. So there is a degree that you could put 30,000 in landscaping. Obviously that building's established and you're gonna have with the paving and everything, you're starting fresh, really. I can see that. I just agree that I want to be sure that this is us helping you and this business that's coming in. And it's kind of worrisome to me that there's a potential that they could back out, but.
How much have we allocated so far this year? Do we have a total?
Yes, we do.
I think that was a 12,000.
Well, that's the amount that's been reimbursed so far. I'm talking about what we've pledged.
Allocated.
Hold on, I have the number for you. We've got, I think it's 52,700 is left in the amount that I was describing with Jen before.
And is that after the award tonight?
No, that 50, what did we just do before? 11?
Yeah, 11,551.
That's down to 41. So we had the big 25,000, that whole remodel job of,
Yes. That was on 41, the old guard.
with basically you're tearing it down, yeah. Yep.
The laundromat, right?
Laundromat. So yeah, we're at 41 for the year.
And again, that proposal had the kinds of materials being used, down to the penny, down to the letter. Everything was dialed in. And you knew.
And the
exactly
permit
what-
was pulled.
What's that?
Wasn't the permit already pulled for that?
I believe.
That was
had-
like, that was ready to go.
Right.
But that's not one of our criteria, so we can't really consider it. Based on that, it's just a matter of making sure that projects are ready to go. Because we still have from last year sitting out there.
That number's on that sheet too.
Yeah, I mean, we still have almost $22,000 that hasn't been reimbursed yet because projects weren't
Ready to go.
ready.
So if you were to receive funding from us, when would the first contractor be on site?
Probably in the next couple of weeks.
These contractors that you're, got proposals from all licensed to, with the town?
Michelle already okayed all of them.
Okay.
I guess I look at these estimates and I get the feeling a little bit, I don't exactly know what I want, but, give me an estimate for about 10,000. And then I'll spend it from there as opposed to.
Wait,
the
that's how
estimate-
government works.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So you understand
So
what
we
I'm
wanna
trying to
do
get, and again, Eric, we want this
No,
to happen.
I
We want this to
So
happen.
some of these things, I'll have guys that will do it. I don't want to say time and material, but it's like, they're like, hey, we know this is what it's going to cost roughly. But I think it's a win-win for everyone to say, and that's how I do things sometimes, like, hey, do it. And you know roughly what it's going to be. It's not going to be double that, but there's things that come up. So that's where they're just saying, here, this is what it's going to roughly be. And that's how I do things. So it's fair. So if they bid it hard and they underprice it and then I hold them to it, and it's different than with the Hen and Sons projects, they're doing it for themselves. So they can price it. They can put whatever detail they want on it.
They've done about 3 or 4 of
And they
these and
do it.
only one of them has been for themselves.
No, but still, that's what, on any of them, they know the ins and outs of what's going on and it's already a set thing. Mine, some of it is, yeah, rehab once you open it up, but I don't want to open it up and have all this expense if it's like, all right, we're probably going to scale it back and we're going to do it, which is not my goal. In Cedar Lake, I want to do everything as high end and as good as possible because that keeps this train moving. If there's nice stuff, but if I lipstick it, which I could do and easily get a contractor in there, or I've got a lot of random calls that I could pull the trigger on, but I don't want that.
And then the last thing I guess I'll say is I don't think I'm quite ready to vote on this now. I want it to happen, but I don't think I'm ready to vote on this now. I think we need more detail.
So they want to get in, if this goes, they want to get in there as soon as possible. So if we delay it another month, that delays and potential for them. I mean, they're looking all over the place. So if I have it with these guys, that's why I kind of wanted to fit this in tonight, because then it delays me another month to come back. But I also don't want to lose these guys, because I'd love to have a gun shop in Cedar Lake and to have this occupied, and just how legit these guys are. I feel very good about it.
There's a lot of those things that you can start out and get it rolling without us giving you the $22,000 or $20,000 to get, on our part there. You can get your, you got to have paving on that, that site there. You got to have a paint job on the site. You got to have, the tuck pointing and what have you. That's all going to be done anyway. You're going to do that anyway if these guys are there, if those guys aren't there. So I'm looking for a little more detail in your estimates from the companies, and you can come back in with that stuff and to get your other stuff rolling too.
An example would be like the windows. Like I would just do everything. If it wasn't these guys and it was just, I could do all the windows just like double hung or cheaper stuff. I'm doing like aluminum, like on-site framing, finishing, glass aluminum doors, like black mirrored, like I'm doing everything. Yeah.
Am I wrong? But I don't know. Maybe I'm hearing all this wrong, but it kind of sounds like it's, if you allocate money to me, then I'm going to do a good job. And if not, I'm not.
It would help to justify spending it and to fix it up now, as opposed to just letting it sit there and then waiting for maybe 5-10 years, and instead I'd tear it down.
But I don't know. I guess if $20,000 is a make or break on a valuable property that you purchased, is it really that great of a property?
And it's all the eye of the beholder.
I don't know. It just sounds like, if we give you the money, then it's full steam ahead, top notch. If not, then it's.
It helps lessen the investment.
Halfway.
Like it's going to take me 5 years to even recoup all of this, but instead I could just do a clean lipstick, and I get a contractor and start making money right away, and leave it to them for the most part. So I mean, I don't want to go back and forth on the investment side and the business side of what I'm trying to do, but like it makes sense. Like I have the best interests of Cedar Lake and heart. Like I want good buildings, and I think this is a good one that is eligible for this program that it'd be great to fix up. It's been sitting now for 2-3 years, probably longer.
I looked at all of the ones that I mentioned that I thought had sufficient detail, which was the glass, the garage door, the electric, the paving,
What did you get for a total?
and
I missed it.
the Eric's painting and decorating. These are all very detailed proposals that look ready.
Those equate 56,543, and a 20% on that would be 11,300 if we made that proposal on the items that are very specific. Paving, we know is you can tell by the detail on the glass and such. That's the number I came up with for that, 56,543.
And if that's what the commission decides to do, I would encourage Eric to get those other things that need some tuning up of parts of your proposal, so we could consider the rest of it, because I think this whole project is worthy of the consideration of your request. I really do. I think that it could be
Exactly.
very.
One other thing I'd like to add the masonry. I mean, masonry quotes are not going to be detailed. I mean, it's repair.
So we don't know any of the materials.
But to do what he needs to do on that and to paint it.
Hours?
I mean, it's the job is, they have $12,000 in for labor and materials on new bricks. So to duct point and to do the point of repairs, I mean, that's actually not a bad.
You've done a lot of business, right? And when
Correct.
you quote somebody a time and materials, you'll have the estimated time.
Right. So if they go over it, they're loose. If they go under it,
But there's no estimated time.
probably because they don't know what they don't exist. When I go in
How
and
can you
tear out
put
a
a
driveway, I
proposal
already
together
know
if
the
you don't
driveway's
know
bad,
what exists?
Randy, and I'm gonna remove the entire driveway, redo what's the stone underneath it, and put all that to make it new.
But wouldn't you go out and look at the site first
I would
and
hope
and
that they did
evaluate?
that.
But there's nothing indicating that there's an estimated time. What you're saying is, well, they won't know until they get into it. But if you're gonna propose something, wouldn't you look at the project first?
Well, I mean, on his quote, it says
I don't
labor and material.
Yeah, but what does that mean?
All right. I mean, I just think that's
I'm just asking the question, Eric.
I agree, and I understand that. I
devil's
just think that
advocate
he
here a little
has to do that to do the painting, that I think it's hand in hand.
I don't disagree with you.
He's not gonna be able to paint without repairing the
I've
outer
just,
core of that
I've just
building.
never seen proposals like this in anything that I've ever done in business. It's a heck of a lot more detail.
Don't go off of my number because I'm just flipping through here. It would have been nice to have a total itemized.
I agree.
So, I mean, do we?
I'll add up the numbers again.
Okay.
Eric needs to get to a birthday party, for God's sake.
All right, so go
He's
ahead
already in
and
bed.
say them. I'm just gonna look at the
In
page.
bed already? It's 7?
Hey, he's 5, right?
Yeah.
So I might have, yeah.
And he's kidding.
I'll do this again.
I mean, I just got a bid on drywall from someone that was handwritten and everything wasn't even spelled right.
That's crazy. I
But that's
would
what
never
is
do
out
business
there.
with a
People don't
contract. That's
even-
garbage, Eric.
That's true though.
There's better
And some of them are
contractors than
good.
that.
A lot of these business
I'm
owners,
going to step in here a second. I think we all need to take a deep breath and recognize that there are some in this room that interact significantly with the contractors that are out there. I think what Mr. Lindemulder is saying, there are some out there that have just recently obtained their ability to be in America, that are starting businesses, that are hardly able to write invoices, but they're living the American dream in doing it. So before we spend a significant amount of time knocking the way that someone does it versus the way that we would prefer they do it, let's recognize and appreciate the broad panoply of businesses that are out there.
Well, Jeff Paving is doing my driveway and it's a text between him and my husband. So I don't, I do agree that there are people that if you know and trust them. Unfortunately, this isn't our money though. This is the
Exactly.
taxpayers' money. So we
That's
want
the
to, it's
difference.
accountability, Eric.
No,
And
right. And I
truly,
don't
if
think
you and
anything
I were
I
having
presented
coffee talking
isn't-
about all this, I'd be like, I don't doubt what you're saying at all. It's
but it's
more,
just not organized
yes,
enough
yes.
or detailed. But that's what they give.
Mhm.
Until they actually do it, I don't want,
But if they're gonna make money, like say, if they're capable of doing this, then they're capable to add a few more details,
you would
specific,
think,
you
but
know?
that's not
I
always
would
the
think
case.
in those cases, I agree with you.
Some of these
I mean, I've
business
done
owners
both
don't
with
even want to
mine.
make.
I don't, when I draw up a driveway, I don't go and do
Yeah.
a picture and send them. I literally handwrite exactly what I'm doing there. I will write out exactly what the
Mhm.
quote is, everything
It
that's
has
gonna be
to be
done.
great.
I have a format at how it goes and I sign it on the bottom. And that's how I do it. And I've done it that way for forever. I don't have time. I don't have time to go and mess and sit when I was doing it all the time. I would do bidding at like 3:30 to noon until 8 o'clock at night. And then they'd wait, it takes hours. Plus I worked all during the day.
These guys don't even want to take their time. They don't return phone calls to get bids right now. They're so
They're
busy.
so busy.
They're not going to be
No.
overly detailed, especially if it's something that they don't know what they're going to see.
They
So if
can-
I tear off the whole awning, then they're going to brick it all the way up the rest of the way. So that's where time and material comes into play. How much
So-
more brick they going to
But
need? How
going
much
back
more
to
time
like
is
the
it going to take?
signage, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
So
no way.
I appreciate
So-
what Nathan said, and Nathan's not wrong about that. I'm one of 2 elected officials sitting up here. Tracy's one of them, and myself is the other. Bob is sitting in as a liaison here. We have a very high standard as elected officials of accountability, and part of that has to do with details. So while not every contractor does it the same, I know when the town council, as elected officials, or the school board has proposals in front of them, you are, as an elected official, charged with asking for details. It's not wrong to ask for details. It's not being discriminatory towards anybody. It's not saying anything bad. It is about accountability to the taxpayers. That's our job. You know, as appointed officials, that's the job too. But as elected officials, that's the standard that all of us have to meet, is accountability. And accountability means details. You have to ask the questions. So it's nothing against anybody that you're doing business with.
Now, I've given details of every single trade but for like a mason to list out exactly how many bricks he's gonna use and how much mortar, some of these trades are very tough to have tons of detail.
Well, the sign, like Eric said, is something, but, so I'm at a point right now where it's spring and you're saying 2 weeks, and I don't want you to
They
delay
wanna
on the
be in
project.
2 months, like,
But we
I'm
were
gonna fast track
discussing
this thing.
2 things. One, taking the things that we believe are the true estimate and bid with detail, and which I agree that like on signage with pictures and all that, and details. And like, yes, you're right, that a person could write it or text it or whatever, but it still would be there. It would be written, even if it was handwritten on a piece of paper or a Word document or whatever, it would, even if the trades are so busy that they can pick and choose who they work for, they should try to be sure that they're doing that. So in my opinion, we have to decide, are we gonna, I wanna make a proposal for the 20% of that total of what we said,
here's an idea.
or
Here's an
defer,
idea.
but I don't want you to wait a month.
Let's do this. This thing is a really good project if it's all put together, okay? So without seeing everything in detail that we're kind of looking for from an accountability standpoint, this is not judging your contractors at all. From an accountability standpoint, is my motion would be to approve $10,000 tonight, okay? And then to pledge another 10,000 contingent upon the completion of the rest of these proposals. So we have details and accountability in the whole project.
Rick and Nathan, you're more familiar with our requirements. Is that something we can do?
My suggestion would be that's too open-ended and it doesn't give specificity.
Okay, fine. Then I will amend my motion, $10,000, period.
Now,
I guess
what if we made it contingent on me showing, obviously before reimbursement, that there was pictures and there was everything of this signage? This signage is going to be legit.
Is that what you meant?
And that's kind of what we were looking for, to be legit at the front.
But we don't know.
But we don't know, like, we don't know what their sign's gonna be yet and what it's gonna look like. But it's gonna be, there's gonna be signage. All businesses have signage, and that's why I picked a legit business. Some of these contractors that I've talked to and that want to occupy the space, they don't even care about signage. But I don't want just a vacant looking building.
I want to second Randy's motion on the 10,000, and you can come back Jan 1, 22.
No, he can come back anytime this year.
Oh, he can?
Yeah.
Oh, you can come back.
So this,
I was willing to go to the 20,000. Nathan said it's too open, so I'm good with going to 10.
You didn't allow me to explain myself.
Go ahead.
My point there was going to be, if we were going to say $10,000 today and then 10,000 in the future, there would be no ability for this board to have accountability as to what that first 10,000 could be apportioned to, and then the second 10,000. What I was going to mention, and again, I've been holding myself quiet because of the business relationship here, is that this board has already indicated several areas where they perceive there is sufficient specificity this evening. Why don't you apportion your percentage against those and then indicate for the remainders where we don't perceive there is specificity to allow them to come back as we have done with others?
So I've already identified the non-specific ones.
And that's where I thought
on
you
the
were
record.
going with it,
Right.
right?
That's
what I
And
I've already
that would create the
identified.
accountability that you're looking for and allow Mr. Lindemulder to come back in the future with the specificity that this board is requesting of him this evening with
So-
that for future months.
So I'll do this for the record. The DeMott glass
Here, I gotta hear Randy. I wrote all that.
is sufficient. I'm just gonna go through
Go ahead.
these
Go ahead.
proposals.
I'll follow.
Affordable garage door, Orsma Electric, Jif Paving, Eric's Painting and Decorating. In my opinion, those are the most sufficient, detailed parts of the proposal right now that comes out to 49,000 and some change. Let me look up here on my handy little, 49,093. And I was gonna put the 10,000 towards that number of those proposals. So the ones that, in my opinion, again, this is one man's opinion, need a little work is K&T Masonry, Dynamic Iron, Enigenberg Roofing.
DJ.
Yeah, Baltimore Builders, T&J Landscaping. So that clarifies the record.
Can I respond to all the ones that you think aren't good?
If you want to push it, Eric, go ahead.
Well, I don't,
I'm
I'm
losing
not
my
pushing
patience.
it, but I just think we're making this more complicated than it needs to be.
Well,
We're-
I
No,
think
you made
we-
it more complicated than it needs to be by not being prepared.
I believe we, you explained all those. I thought, because you explained all those, I thought we already went through them. So I don't think, I mean, just to be honest, I'm not gonna change my mind, especially since we're pledging you the money eventually anyway. So I want you to get your project started.
All those that you listed, Randy, I was right along with you. But you listed those because they had a pretty good
Detail.
They had a
detail.
detailed
The
breakdown
K&T
thing.
K&T masonry almost has to be in there to do your painting and putting your glass black on and putting your doors on. Am I thinking wrong? Or is that door for the garage door in the back?
That's another one. That's a separate bid. So my class is doing all the, they would do the doors and the windows. The back garage door would be a portable garage door. And that's yeah, I think I put
Right,
they
so
got
we
a
have-
picture in their bid.
So all those figures.
We have
except-
labor and material for new brick.
Yeah.
On face, tuck pointing and repair. That's what we have for proposal.
And so I don't know how they can be more detailed. They also have to, which they didn't put in there. I mean, they're going to be cutting out some old windows and some old block. Like, I'm already trying to like get these guys to slow up enough to give me bids on stuff that.
Right, well, my motion was, and I'll go back to my original motion. 10,000 for what I'd listed for the record as what I personally deemed as sufficient detailed estimates. And then pledging the other 10,000, so it puts a placeholder in there. So we're not allocating it for any other projects, just completing the rest of these estimates in detail.
That's kind of what's done anyways, right? When I submit, I have to submit all the estimates and the detail of what was done before I get paid.
But I'm confused because this is like, you're getting the 20% of
100,000.
But maybe I don't understand what you guys are.
but it's
I
gonna come to you
understand you
this
have to
year,
submit-
so you're gonna get it.
So here's, like, if I nail everything down with them and they start doing the masonry work, but we remove that within 2 weeks, they start doing masonry work, that's fine. Like, I just fear if they do any work that we didn't get
But you're gonna
approved.
pay for that and then you'll get reimbursed.
Okay,
Right,
so that's
our
what,
little percentage.
so that's what you're saying to come back with?
My motion is
Yeah,
so we
I
get,
think
so we
there's-
get more
Yes. Yeah,
detail
if he
on those
doesn't
ones
really-
that are pretty open. Okay,
So we're giving you what we would give you if these were detailed. We're just saying, get the project started, take the monies and invest in that, and then when you bring them back, then we're gonna approve them and you'll be good to go.
yeah, if.
We just don't
Okay.
wanna delay
Could
for your sake.
contractors, Eric?
I can
Like-
make them
like
all, make
detail
all of these
things
ones very
so that
detailed.
Next month at the meeting,
That's when
we
next
can,
month,
we can release the other 10 grand,
right?
right? And then you've gotten 20,000 out of it. I mean.
And
I
it's
think
fine if,
Oh, yeah, that's what Randy was saying all along. It wasn't
You're
denying
getting,
you
you're getting
anything.
by half of it. And then TJ, I know TJ Landscaping can do a detail on what
they're
they do.
swamped right now.
Well,
No, I know.
Well,
and
no,
that's,
I know.
we all are. And, but what they're capable of is way more than this.
No, no.
Well, yeah, and less
Yeah, I've
too.
seen that one. So, I mean, you're, like I said, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
And then vote for a call. Roll call.
Jolie Kovach,
Yes.
Doug Spencer,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes.
Eric Durham,
Yes.
Nathan Viss.
Abstain.
So just see if they can tighten up the language on those ones that were kind of open, Eric, and it's all yours.
And I'll buy my first gun there, because I got, well,
I think
I
everyone's
got
gonna
my
buy their
permit
first
license
gun.
out there, so.
I think,
Just- this
I
is
think a
next.
lot of
Sorry,
people
it's
want
the
to
second.
have more options to buy more guns in more
In
places.
Indiana.
so, Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for your
Yep.
patience
No,
with
All right,
us.
Thanks,
no, you're not
guys.
going nowhere. You got another one, right?
Is it right away?
Yeah, we're gonna do it right now. So we're gonna do facade grant extension request, application 20-12, Legacy Insurance Group, address is 12634 Wicker Avenue. Eric, you are the owner of that building?
Yep.
And then, so we already approved this?
Yeah, this is an extension.
It's just an
Yeah, we-
extension.
right.
Almost
6 months.
everything's done other than some miscellaneous stone.
Yeah, and driving by there,
Landscaping
it looks
stuff.
great.
Thank you.
And
Done
the
an amazing job on that
22,000
building.
we have from last year,
Excellent.
we would utilize that?
So hold on, if I can just give a brief update.
Please.
So
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Lindemulder came to us last year, requested monies for the facade exterior, not only signage, there was monies requested for the sign, monument signs up front. Monies were requested for landscaping up front, and monies were requested for new gates to hide the trash bins. I'm not gonna speak in his behalf. A significant amount of that was completed. It was part of the initial building permit application, so it didn't need a new building permit. The landscaping could not be finished as the material that they were going to utilize is no longer being produced. So now they're trying to find a backup material for the landscaping in front. They're going to do a fake green grass up front that could not be produced.
So all you're asking for is an extension of time?
Just extension.
Oh,
Okay. Do we have a
I'll make
discussion in
the
that?
motion
Do you want
to
to make a
extend
motion for
his,
that?
for sure, yeah, we'll extend that, last year's.
And do I have a second?
I'll
Second.
There you go.
Doug, Randy? All
Doug
right,
can
Doug,
second.
Doug
He's
seconds it,
my
and I
elder.
vote for,
Is that 6 months?
for a call for a vote.
Yeah, 6
We
months.
didn't clarify.
Well, we've all
Well,
determined that
T and
these,
J is, that's my wild card, is how busy they are, is getting them.
Well,
I
let's-
hound them like every week.
Let's
Land-
do 6
yeah.
months. If we get to month
I'm
4 or
gonna
5
be
and it
ticked
doesn't,
if
and it
it's not
doesn't,
done in
and it
2
doesn't
months.
look like it, Eric, then come
You're
back.
over at my house
Okay,
this
no,
weekend.
sounds
were
good.
they?
T&J, yeah.
So you got the 6 months?
Well, how about the second?
The second?
You got to concur, Doug. I
See,
gave the second,
Yeah, I gave the second, yes.
I gave the
Doug
second
second.
you
Okay.
because of the gray hair.
Okay,
Roll call?
Julie Kovach.
yes,
Doug Spencer,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes.
Eric Burnham,
Yes?
Nathan Viss.
Abstain. All right, thank you, sir.
Thanks. Thanks,
Thank
Jeff.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, next we're going to go to 3B, applicant 20-10 Ian Hoffman, DDS 13136 Lakeshore Drive. This was tabled last month by Mr. Niemeyer. Is Mr. Hoffman here?
It was actually deferred.
Is he online?
Is there anybody in participants?
Yeah, he probably said, oh, God, come on. This is an RDC meeting. Shut this
Mr. President, there's
windbag
no one
up.
online.
All right, what is the pleasure of the commission?
Motion to defer.
Motion to defer, is there support?
I'll second that.
All right, roll call. I learned that last month.
Julie Kovach,
yes,
Doug Spencer,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer,
Yes.
Eric Burnham,
Yes.
Nathan Viss.
No. My suggestion would that be next time, if he doesn't arrive, that we say no to it so we can free up those funds and apply them towards this year's
I
budget.
don't disagree with you at all.
All right, let's move along to number 4, RFPs for construction. Hold on, I do have one comment. One thing that became abundantly clear during the conversation with Mr. Lindemulder is a question. When we are facing invoices that are time and materials, what specificity are we going to want for time and material bids? Because I think that became evident during that conversation. That's where this board has hiccups. I can appreciate those that don't know and just put a number out there. But I think we also need to appreciate, is there something that we're going to require when it comes to time and material bids that people come to us with? We don't have to decide that this evening, but just as a conversation point for us in the future, time and material bids seem to be a sticking point for us. So
let's look at it as if they were submitting their invoice to the clerk treasurer. Okay, what would be on that invoice? Would it just say time and materials, $12,000? Or would it say the amount of hours? Right? Would it say some of the materials that were used, like in the new brick? I mean, I understand the repair, okay, but maybe specify the square footage of the repair. If they were submitting an invoice to be remunerated, that thing would have to be somewhat detailed. You know, it's no different than what we would do with in our departments. You can't just give us a vague purchase order. There has to be something listed on it.
then I do think, because I see contractors every day and I can appreciate the comments that were made, and a lot of what I see, I mean, some of the stuff here is more detailed than what stuff that I see. So I do think if we are going to spend a lot of time talking about the lack of specificity or the lack of pictures then we do need to enunciate that as part of our requirement in our proposals. That way we are not wasting our time and a business's time talking about that on the spot. So
Yeah, I don't care about pictures. I like to see what we're accountable to the taxpayers of the TIF district.
Oh, I agree.
That's all.
My point is that then let's require that specificity in our.
Not a bad
application.
idea.
So,
And this has been a learning process as far as like the mom on the board's like, and everybody, we're gonna get, and because we're learning, kids.
You're always so nice,
I'm
Josie.
I'm the mom. You keep me around for something.
yes. All right. Number 4, RFPs for construction inspection services for 133rd and King Street intersection. Rick?
Mr. President, you had suggested that we move that to a study session item. I was originally under the impression that the RDC had to make a motion tonight for its recommendation, and it does not have to do that. You just simply have to score it. Once you've scored it, we'll compile the results. Our ERC, our employee and responsible charge, is Jill Murr. She would then sign off on that and send it to INDOT. So we can do this as part of the study session instead of during this meeting. It does not require a motion or official action on your part.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
as I've reviewed these RFPs, and you and I, Nathan, have both sat on these scoring committees a couple times. So we kind of know how it goes. But one part of this that's different than what it used to be is in that past performance category. And in reading the scoring instructions, it says that that's a score that's given by INDOT.
Right,
So we wouldn't fill in any part of that?
that's correct. Right.
Okay,
We would just send everything below that, Randy, we would fill in and send it to INDOT. INDOT would put that past performance score in there.
Got it.
themselves.
okay, because I had never seen that on our scoring before. It was always the capacity, the qualifications, project manager, and approach to project.
Right.
But
Right.
those are still the 4 categories that we're scoring on.
Correct.
Got it.
The one thing I'm going to reiterate here is a caution that Mr. Niemeyer has issued at past meetings, that we all keep that in mind as we do this scoring. It is important.
Right.
Right.
The scoring's to be done well, we're gonna go into that then in study session then?
We will, well, yeah, briefly. Facade grant document revisions. I don't believe we've received, have we, proposed revisions from Dave's office?
No.
Okay, all right. So we can make a motion to defer that for next month.
I'll make a motion to
Second.
defer that.
There'll be a second here.
All right, roll call.
Julie Kovich,
Yes.
Doug Spencer,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes.
Eric Burnham,
Yes.
Nathan Viss.
Yes. Brian, could you make a note to pass along to Dave if we could have that next week so that we have some time to review that?
Yeah, my understanding is that Dave and Rick have exchanged some comments back and forth and they're
Okay.
working on it.
Sounds good. All right, project updates. We already covered number 1. Brian, you want to give us an update on hood lust damages?
And everyone's favorite piece of litigation. We are in active dialogue with opposing counsel. I think as Dave has suggested to you guys before, we've identified some assets of Mr. Hood's that might be collectible. Simultaneously with that, we have some active dialogue with IDEM. So we're sort of working on dual paths, nothing concrete yet, but I think we're narrowing in on ability to collect upon this.
Possibly gold mine.
I don't know if I go that far.
Cash. All right, thank you. Industrial park property roadway, anything that you can share with us on that that is not to be shared in exec session otherwise? Anything?
Nothing specific now.
Okay, I can report to everyone here that talked to Dave this afternoon. There are updates being made there, which we can share next month's meeting if we have an exec session. Positive. Facade grant updates. I don't think we have any updates. We got an update there on how much money we have left. Marketing of Explore Everyday recipients. Randy, any update there?
Nope.
Rick, any update on light pole banners?
Just that I did just recently find, Tim Kubiak was able to measure those standards for me, and they are 24 by 48, not 24 by 36. So now that I know that size, I'll reach out to the banner company and get a price on that size for both types of banners, the standard banner and the thicker material.
Okay.
Be able to report that back next month.
Sounds good.
On those poles, Wick, the ones that I see in front of Beacon Point, and then I also noticed they had those same poles on What's the subdivision next to your subdivision there, the new one?
Where Eric lives, where do you live again?
I live in Havenwood.
Havenwood.
No,
No.
I'm talking about
Oh,
Beacon Hill, and where are we talking about?
The Crystal Oaks.
Crystal, yeah,
Crystal Oaks,
they,
by-
I did notice that they had poles with the banners on them, actually, you know, and things. Do we own those poles or?
We eventually take them over. The
Got it.
subdivision puts them in, and then eventually they're turned over to the town.
Okay.
That's what, you understand it that same way, Randy?
Those are the ones that I counted, the decorative poles that have the brackets on them already.
Right,
And there were 26 of those, and I thought they looked like they were 24 by 36, but Tim tells me they're 24 by 48.
Okay.
And that's what I thought they were.
Thank you for that, Rick. Appreciate it. I've received no other written communications. Anyone else on the board? Public comment, any updates from the chamber, Bob?
They've scheduled a business showcase for June the 12th outside here. It'll be similar to what the the farmer's market does.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Hope
I'm
for
glad
a
they're scheduling this.
sunny day.
That's good. Yeah, hope for a nice sunny day and.
Absolutely.
And I guess the backup date is June 19th.
Okay.
And the reason for it is because the school system aren't letting people use the facilities right now, so they opted to go this route.
Cool. Open air. Tracy, anything from school court?
Nope, just a whole bunch of a new school going in soon.
Exciting. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else from the public?
Small stuff.
Small stuff.
Rich, nothing?
No, I was just listening and learning. I'm just trying to figure out with this estimate thing, you know, like in Eric's defense, I've gotten estimates from T&J Landscaping, and sometimes I've almost had to hold their hand to get them out to finally do stuff, and just because of them being busy. But what do you guys do, like with the funds, because it is an estimate, if it comes in over, because it's not an exact amount.
They're limited as a total number, an aggregate.
So if it goes
So if we
over-
approve 20,000 and his original estimate was 110,000, and it's 180, he still gets to 20,000. That's why it's a solid number that we come up with and not a percentage that is,
You
can
kind of
be.
gotta hope that they estimate high.
So then I should tell them to estimate all of them high, because that's my fear, is all of them are gonna be high.
Most of them are, like, I'm remodeling my house, and probably 10% of the stuff is kind of material on my house, and it's all coming in older. So I'm just trying to.
No.
Well, I can tell
Hold
you-
on. Rich's point is this, is that we've been applying a percentage. Rich's point is that if somebody doesn't know and they give 10,000 because they think that's what it's going to take, but it actually comes back and it's 13, we're just going off of the 10. But in actuality, what should be happening when they come here is they should be saying, no, it's going to be 13 because we're only applying the 20% or the 25% so that they can really maximize it out.
Yeah, so then they'd be,
That's the
then
conundrum.
they'd be
then.
lying to us to get a.
So I think we have to appreciate, their point is we have to
Holy
appreciate
crap.
what's being given here.
And keep in mind, this is being broadcast, everything that's being said here.
That's fine.
Right,
I don't mind the
understand. I
public
just didn't
hearing
know
it.
if it's percentage, and I understand when you guys do, let's say 20%, but then if it comes in higher, then technically, let's say it's 18% if it came in higher, or does it stick with the 20%?
But what we do is we apply a percentage to the proposal and then come up with a flat number, which is part of the motion.
Okay.
So it's
So
a
if
flat,
over, then it's just over and then,
right.
okay.
But if people start, if people start artificially jacking up bids, we'll figure it out.
True, I
Okay.
totally understand that, but then if it came in
We'll
less,
figure it out.
Is there anything against if it came in less? Let's say somebody did it for cheaper and it was, you know, $5,000 less.
If
Do
we,
you guys,
if we approved the number and the invoice is submitted for reimbursal, then it's reimbursed based on what was the public meeting action that was taken. It's really that simple. I pray that people don't get the idea who are watching this to overinflate their estimates though, because I'll sniff it out myself.
yeah,
I'll make sure of it.
yeah, I was just thinking and listening and seeing how things were going, just trying to figure things out.
I understand.
We need to discuss.
Anything else from the public? We are adjourned. All right.
It doesn't have to be done that way. You can take that individually, and if you want to get them back to me, say by the end
Bill
of the
that
week,
the
there
person
was.
gave them, so yeah.
there
I mean,
was a-
each bill they
I don't
get, they
recall it
turn
trying
in
to
as
find
it comes
And they
in.
get 20% of each bill.
If you
Right.
prefer to
Or
take
the
that.
total.
I think it's best, does anybody have any things they need clarified of how to score this? What the scoring means? How to relate what is in a packet to the score?
I think we handed that out, didn't we, Randy?
Huh?
I think we handed that out, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you did,
Yeah,
but
okay.
sometimes, you know, if there's something that needs to be clarified, now is a good time to do it,
Sure.
because when you start scoring, we can't collaborate, right?
That's
This has to be each individual doing this on their own, so so it's objective and fair to the contractors.
I have been through quite a few of these with my career in US Steel and BP. And we had different, chemical vendors.
Yeah.
Large companies coming in that had to, install a large piece of equipment and what have you. This is a little different, but it was pretty explanatory, but I was just, that shot there where they talk about past performance doesn't count, and yet all those companies give me a past performance on there in their brochure.
But that past performance is an objective thing from INDOT.
Now I understand that.
Right.
Now I understand that that's in there, right? I saw that, well, why they're giving me all these things now? I guess the one thing that I don't know, I guess I got a question to you guys. Does it matter the location of the companies that does the work? And also, does it matter what they have done in either our town or, surrounding communities like Whiting and
I can answer some of these questions. So the trick to this is not necessarily where their home office is located.
Yeah.
But how they will allocate their resources, which are human resources. Will they be responsive to the project if they're the project manager, so to speak?
Right.
But this is construction inspection, but technically they're kind of managing the project. So in this guy's opinion, office location isn't as important as what they say in their presentation about personnel that's dedicated to the project. And as far as comparables, there could be comparables in numerous communities across the state that are similar projects, maybe not just in Cedar Lake. So I think you need to take into consideration all those comps as a way to make an objective decision. So you're not just looking at a firm that's only worked in Cedar Lake, but you're opening it up to people that have successfully completed intersection projects like this in other parts of the state, worked with INDOT, understand the process. So I think those comparables can be applied to numerous projects. That's my opinion, at least from the times I think I've done this 3 times.
I have never done this.
Right.
This is going to be my first
It's a lot of fun. The thing I'd give advice to anybody is you don't have to be nice on this, okay? You don't have to say, I don't want them to have their feelings hurt, so I'm not going to give them a -1. Now, if you think they're insufficient, you give them a -1. If you think they're average, you give them a 0. If you think they're really good, you give them a 1. And then that's weighted against that weight. So if you score in that team's demonstrated qualifications, if you score an item a 2, that's multiplied by 15 for 30 points. Right? So if you scored a 1, it's 1 times 15 for 15 points. All of that's added together with INDOT's performance evaluation scores. And that's how the firm is chosen. So just remember that weight is a multiplier. So if you score somebody a 2 and it's a 20 in that weight, it's 2 times 20 is 40 points.
Right, you have to use the points that are in the
Yep.
scale column. So in that first capacity of team to do work, they get either a 1, a 0, or a -1. And that's what you put in your score column. And then as Randy said, you multiply that by the weighted factor to get your weighted score. I will say this, we just have to have 3 people do this. If you're more comfortable having Nathan and Doug and Randy do this because they've done it before, you can decide that. We just have to have at least 3 people score.
I'm good with this whole team here doing it.
I am
think it's
too.
good.
I mean, I would like to do it, but I want to make sure that I'm giving justice to the people, to who's involved.
The advice is read the material, okay? Don't get necessarily all captivated by glossy pictures. Look at, hey, how are they going to allocate personnel? How are they going to manage this project? We've had some really bad project management in this town.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So this little thing, although it's a small project, the construction inspection part of this is extremely important to the end result. It's a small portion of the total cost, but really important to the product.
And just for clarification, Rick, being that Bert is our existing town engineer, there is no conflict for them also to receive high marks to oversee this project, correct?
That's correct. There have been times where the design, and they are the designer of this project. They're not only the town engineer, they're the designer of this actual intersection project. There are times where the designer is also the construction inspection engineer. And then there are times when that's not the case, so.
Wasn't that the case with the roundabout?
Yeah,
American Structure
So the
Point
max
designed
score
it
that
and
you
they
give them is
oversaw
either
it.
a negative 1 or
So,
0.
And keep in mind that what you'll wind up doing is you'll select a firm that you will be
Oh, for that
able to
entire,
contract
so for
with,
all 3, that would be my
negotiate
total. So if I
with
wanted to
on a
be 1,
contract.
it'd be 1 times 20.
You're not selecting
And then
this
for
firm
all
by
of these
price.
categories,
Don't
I
look
get
at
2, 1,
I
0.
think you're losing Rick over here.
Oh, and then I.
I'm sorry.
All right, sorry.
I have extra stuff.
I think you may have to repeat.
I was just saying that you're not basing your decision on price at all, because that's not part of this process. After the engineering firm is selected, then you will be free as the RDC to negotiate a contract with whomever is selected. So we know typically what construction engineering costs, but you don't have that in your packet. That's not one of your criteria to consider.
Again, pay attention to the detail.
One detail that I, got through this, they're going through some of the projects that have been going on. Now, Rick, you have worked with you have had projects in the towns that you've worked at that they've listed in these projects there. And Randy, there's been projects here that you have worked on that these guys were in here. How strong does that tend to opinionate you on in doing your RFPs on here?
Well, I think one of the things that is important, and I think it's called out in here, is a firm's familiarity with the area. And several of the firms do have that.
Okay.
They have local knowledge. Like Randy said, it's not necessarily, maybe the office is in Lafayette, but they have a local person that is in our area. So I wouldn't get too concerned about where the home office is either. I would look at who they're saying is going to be available to this project and how readily available that person is. Now, if they have to come from Evansville every day to come up here, well, that I know that would impact how I decide how I would score that. But I'm sure that all of these people are going to have somebody local enough to the area that know the area. So again, to echo what Randy said, don't worry about necessarily where the home office is. Look at who's going to be available and where they're working. They may well be out in a satellite office that's more local than, say, in the Indianapolis office.
Okay. So I would do this. Let's, everyone who, we need at least 3 of us to do it, but if we all can take our time to read through it and then circle back and drop these off with Rick by 12 o'clock this week, Friday.
Yes, that'd be fine, I think.
Yep. Yep.
Now, we give it to Rick or we give it to,
You give it to me, and,
Okay.
and between Jill and I, we'll
Jill.
tally them up, and then Jill will actually sign it. By the way, make sure you sign the bottom of the sheet. You fill out the bottom of that sheet that you're filling out for each one of these. You have a scoring sheet for each of these, and you'll notice that, Margaret put these in alphabetical order for us. The second one is beam, longest, and F.
Is
They
it just-
declined to give.
It's just this letter.
Well, but there's a scoring sheet, Jolie, for them, yes. They have
Yeah, there's
letter
a scoring
saying
sheet, because I was like,
they
where's their packet? I just
So-
wanted to make sure I had it.
declined. When you score them, you're gonna make sure that you score them 0 because they did not, they
Present.
elected not to give us a proposal. The others that gave us actual proposal.
Thank you for the
But you do need
clarification.
to fill out that bottom.
Okay.
1, 0, or negative.
No, for beam, we're not gonna do anything. So the back zeros
Oh, well.
all the way across.
Enjoy them. Could do negatives too, and then really rank bad. Right.
okay, Nathan.
All right, let's move on to our 4 work session topics. First is, pass this on down, please. Lincoln Plaza signage. What is the pleasure of the commission? Back when we allocated funds to that, we talked about how it's a funky area. We talked about how we would maybe potentially use monies to develop a sign there to promote the businesses that are located there. Is that still something that we would like to do? Is that something that we think there's enough through traffic there? There's really not space from a safety standpoint to properly put a sign? What's the thought process of the commission?
Chairman,
Go ahead.
if I may kind of take us back to why that's even considered as part of the RDC is because when phase 1 of 133rd Avenue was done started in 2007, I believe, Bob.
Yeah.
That sign was removed as a part of that project. Okay, it was removed by the town. It was a bad sign, okay, but it was still removed by the town. And so since then.
Because we widened or?
Right.
Oh, okay.
So since then, there hasn't been a sign there to replace it, which has been pretty unfair to the plaza, considering it was the town that removed it. So that was the reason why that's even there. And so to me, that's something that we do have to get done, even though it's 14 years later, because we owe the people a sign.
What kind of sign was it?
It was a pole mounted sign.
It was not a very nice sign, okay?
Imagine.
Not saying that we have to spend $100,000 on signage, but something sufficient that, can properly advertise the plaza that meets the public safety standard.
I agree. I think that.
I agree
We
that
took
the-
it down, we should replace it.
Right,
And it's just
I-
the right thing to do for the plaza and the businesses that are there.
I agree that we should have a sign for that. I definitely see the safety factor in that though. Just using it, coming out of there and using that sometimes it's difficult. And if there was a sign there, it might, so.
You don't want it to be low to the ground.
No.
It'll have to be pole mounted, and I'm not
Okay.
sure we can put it somewhere where it's legal. In other words, you have to have a setback from the right of way, and I don't know, you might have to get a variance for our own, whatever sign goes up there, because there's not much area to put a sign back in right now. They do have a sign, it's on the west side of the Pizza Hut building, but you can only see it as you're eastbound.
It's not sufficient markings for the plaza.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's something we could do for the plaza in an equal amount, cost-wise, that might benefit it rather than signage. I don't have any specific, it's just a thought I had. I don't know what else you do for it, because the sign's been gone, as you say, Randy, for 14 years now. So
And the businesses that were in there complained to us that they wanted to sign back up. And there are some businesses in there that you don't even know that are in there. If the
And-
sign's the best thing, that's
And,
fine.
and a good example of that is the Dock, right? A restaurant we just, and also the electronics place, right? I mean,
Oh, that computer.
yeah, it's like, people don't even know it's there. I mean, and not saying that you can go by and read every word on a sign, but the kind of repetitive motion and vision, seeing it, does make a difference.
I think they should have a sign. I think
Hen Sons would probably even allow them to put the sign on their property.
I mean, that's something would have to be looked at if that's what we needed to do to have the right setback.
Right.
But
Rick, is there a
it's worth it.
marketing expert of some form that you would suggest that we could research that could give us a couple of ideas as to what, or maybe, I mean, you could have some marketing gurus say in lieu of, this would be satisfactory. I mean,
Well, that's what I was wondering well, first of all, I need to look at it real close to see where could we put it that might be, might comply with our setback regulations, our height regulations, size regulations. My guess is, Randy, that sign was probably bigger than the 60 square feet that we allow these days. That was probably a 10
It
by
was
10.
probably non-conforming.
Would you think that was?
Yeah, it was a non-conforming sign, if I remember right.
Yeah.
I know that Doug's old buddy Keith always had a bone to pick with us about there being no sign there for Southside Pizza and anybody in the plaza. So, I mean, it's
I heard that too.
it's just a matter of doing what's right here and correcting an old mistake.
We outweighted him though. Or waited about.
So my question is this, when you
You're right,
enter Lincoln Plaza, we
Oh,
know
Lord.
the boundary of Lincoln Plaza, but now it extends into the Summer Winds Plaza. So I feel like if I'm somebody just driving in, okay, and I want to know, my goal as a person that's looking for a business is I just want the signage there so that I can turn in, whether it be an arrow saying this and that, but it would not include the stuff in Summer Winds, which would get kind of confusing now because again, people don't know the boundaries of where that.
summer wind sign, you can't, it's way from 133rd.
But that's where they
Well,
built the plaza,
the
right?
plaza is what I'm talking about, the
That's where they
new,
built it. They
so
built it off the road.
off the
Right, so
road.
we'd rather just take
Yeah.
care of what's in the plaza.
So just like, would it be just only, at one point, we did say to itemize each business, but would it be beneficial to just have a very tall Lincoln Plaza sign? Than to denote each one, especially considering the little strip mall changes. So we either need to honor Strax and True Value and the Dock, and there's gonna be a, maybe a dentist change hands. Who's gonna front the bill to change it all the time
Let-
if we do
let me
that?
ask this. I think there's two questions to be asked here. One is, did we make a commitment to the owners that we would attempt to replace the sign? Number two is it even feasible to put signage there? It makes no sense to stick signage there if it's going to A, become an eyesore, and or B, just offer no added value.
Right.
So I think my thought is let's hire a professional to give us some thoughts on whether or not signage is even feasible in that area and a benefit.
And I think knowing how the changeover has been, just in the strip mall area, that those people that were promised in those conversations were not privy to that sort of thing. So we don't even know where they all stand at this point. If at one time someone told you, Bob, 10 years ago or something, you know what I mean? Like that.
What was, so
I
obviously,
guarantee Jeff thinks he wants a sign. I guarantee.
I've
Along
heard
with,
it every
with
year
your
since I've
thoughts,
been on
there,
council.
Eric.
I
What's
believe
that?
it.
The
Every
sign,
year.
From
Yeah.
a particular
Yeah.
business.
Well, I'm sorry, Doug.
along with your thoughts, the signs at for Summer Winds or whatever
Correct.
are very nice signs and make a nice, maybe that sign doesn't have to be on 133rd. Maybe it could be, safer, what have you, that if it's sitting right there.
On Parish.
No, not on Parish, but on, is the street called Broadway by chance? That, the street where you come in and out, you just have it down here. In other words, if you're coming from Strax, you see that before you make your right
You
turn
would
and
have to
go out.
acquire some right of way to install the sign there.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like right in the middle, you put it in the middle of that road there.
Why would it be so hard though to put it on Paris? I mean, I know ideally you'd want it on 133rd, but I mean, why wouldn't it, could it not be on Parish?
Because more traffic goes on
What's that?
133rd
School
than
court.
Parish.
Well, it's after, I mean, where the Strack parking lot is.
My suggestion is we authorize Rick with 1750 to find a marketing guru of some form and just say, if you had dollars to spend to create a marketing sign for this area, where would you do it? And what's your thoughts on whether or not it would actually add value to the businesses?
Do they exist? I mean, I guess that's a dumb question. Is there such companies that you can hire to do that?
I'd have to do some research, Eric. I don't know if any.
Safari marketing?
Yeah, Safari
Safari?
did that study.
Yeah.
I mean, did we obligate ourselves to replacing that sign back in 2007?
I don't think there was ever something in writing that I recall. It was more of a,
Verbal.
yeah, hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna tear down this sign.
I
right?
definitely would agree with Burl.
That's how those things were done back then.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yep.
And not that needs to be considered a binding contract by any means. But the fact of the matter is, the town took the sign down and hasn't replaced it. I'm not going based on any old gentleman's agreements.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the action that took place equates to a reaction to that action. So
Well, you got a lot
I
nicer
totally agree.
road, that's for sure.
I totally agree with that.
I just don't want to stick
Well,
It would
a
be
square
worth it
peg in
to
a round
me.
hole.
Not
very
have-
true. The road has good value for the businesses, but
So maybe the
something there
placement would work.
to fill in the
I
hole that
don't know
we
that. I don't want to
created.
make that
But
decision.
we could,
Okay.
we could
I
if
agree.
hire that her.
So-
So Safari could do it. I say do it, we'll hire them.
All right. Rick, is that enough?
So check with Safari about,
Yeah, it's
okay,
called Jack Adams.
Jack Adams, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right.
They're
Next,
here in Cedar Lake, so.
high school crosswalk. So we had proposed to the school corp that in addition to the crosswalks that would be located at the 133rd King project, I believe we also had two other locations for crosswalks. One was closer to the library and one was closer to Casey's. So I think we're at a point now where we need to decide how we want to go about that project. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we had intimated to the school corp that we would bear that cost, recognizing the public safety aspect and the benefits that it would give to the businesses on the other side of 133rd, allowing the kids to cross. And then we'd also discuss possibly coordinating with the contractor that did the work for 133rd to see if they could do the curb cuts, concrete installs, et cetera. And then we'd also talk about whether or not we wanted to do signage, blinking signage for safety.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
since we're going to be installing an intersection at 133rd and King that will have crosswalks in it, one at Casey's would be kind of redundant, right? So maybe the library location is a more realistic location, especially, kids that are walking, towards Monastery Woods or walking towards Lincoln Plaza or whatever, going to get something to eat or whatever. Coming out of the library, it makes a little more sense than having a crosswalk at Casey's and crosswalk at King.
You do have 3 crosswalks, Randy, in that 133rd and King intersection project, so.
Right, so I don't think we need to be redundant there.
2 of them are across 133rd and the other is across King.
Yeah. So
We
I
start
thought
making,
that's all
you
we
start
were gonna
making,
do.
you start making a bunch of crosswalks and that'd probably be a problem too. And that area, like where Casey's
you could
is,
have a lot
that
of
is,
traffic jams.
we kind of want them to go down to the
Talked about
light to
originally.
go across, then crossing right there. You have an entry, you have an exit entrance, whatever you want to call it.
But if we
I mean,
do,
it's-
if we do have 2
Right.
on each side of that 133rd and King project crossing 133rd, do we need additional by the library?
No, because that library has a bunch of entrance and exits too. I mean, you don't want them
But
kids
the kids
crossing
can
by
walk
that.
across to a sidewalk and be on sidewalks the whole time.
Right.
And they've got pedestrian control there, Randy, when
Right.
they're doing that.
We wouldn't have pedestrian control by the library.
Right.
No.
No.
Like, when we've talked about it before, I brought up that Lowell has the sidewalk that walks down to the light. Kids are not allowed to go down to Holtz Road light. If they are caught doing that, they get in trouble. There is a directive from the school that the walkers or leavers of the school have to utilize the crosswalk, and I have seen it for many, many years there.
That's a good
And
idea.
very, very passionate to your predecessor. So we would, this is why it came up so much, because we all were very concerned. The school bus accidents were happening, the people crossing. It's been a concern all over Cedar Lake for us at different areas where
Distracted
people.
driving.
Well, and distracted driving, there's the middle turn lane where people go over, you don't know if they're going over. I mean, I was just behind someone that was turning into the school. They never got into the middle lane. They just stayed in the main lane and waited and then turned. So it's a very dangerous area. And I agree. I think that it needs to be one place when the light is put in. And as much as we would love to have more, if it's signage, or those are really expensive though. And with the light, right, Nathan, we discussed that. Those signs alone are a lot of money just to put in temporarily, hence why we haven't done it yet.
So my question is this: previously, this board had expressed approval for additional crosswalks. We communicated that with the school. The school corp was of the mindset too that they wanted additional crosswalks. We're now changing course. So my question, I guess, to the school corp is going to be, has there been active dialogue in recent months about this topic? Or what's the school corp's position on additional crosswalks, or no?
I can't talk for the whole board.
Yeah.
I will say this is new to me. I would like to bring this up to our board to find out, because who was there before, if they discussed it, we haven't been privy to it.
Okay.
I know my opinions about it, but again, legally, I can't talk for the
That's
whole
fine.
board. But,
You can't, but just do it anyways.
I know.
Well, it was more an opinion of that person,
It's just
and I
looking
want
for
to
input,
add,
basically.
I think the reason why it's
opinion-
shifting, just real quick,
Yeah.
from the multiple, was because there were also time through the years where the funding, we weren't sure if the King and 133rd was going to happen, and we were more of an urgent nature. We got to get something there. The kids are crossing at 3 places, and now it has come to fruition because time has passed and it's finally here. But yeah, so that's why it was we've deviated from the first original.
I think if you didn't have anything to direct them to, you put crosswalks there, they're going to go to it. Now that you guys are doing the intersection at King, you're going to have set crosswalks. The kids are going to go to that because they're set for that, and you're already having two. That's my opinion.
Some kids.
Okay.
Majority.
Can I make a
The
suggestion?
majority.
At least we're giving them a
Hold on,
place to
let-
cross.
Right.
Doug's got a comment.
Can I make a suggestion that we put the crosswalks in on our King intersection there? We kind of monitor things, and if we find that we need to put one at the library or whatever, we revisit it then, yeah.
And I can take this back to the board
Mhm.
so we can
You know.
discuss it.
So it's the commission's opinion right now. Let's hold off, and then we'll wait to hear further input from the school corp.
I'd like to add
Go
something
ahead.
though, because this is not really a statement, it's more of a question. Haven't we discussed that there are people that are in this field of safety and traffic flow and know what would be the best, safest way to cross people from to and fro across that area? I mean, this is all of our opinions, but
So these areas were enunciated by the safety officers for the school originally. That's how we came up with these locations.
yes.
And the town engineer would have to check off on any sort of traffic device being installed. So if the safety people say, well, I want one here, and the town engineer says, not a good spot, not feasible, doesn't make sense, it won't go there.
Mhm.
So there's plenty of redundancy in analysis that goes into these things.
Good question. All right, good. JMA Gateway, for recollection purposes, as you are winding past, let's see here, it's right by Smith Ready Mix, winding past the fire station. There is the old railroad bed, and you've got the awesome voluminous concrete structure that kind of goes over the road. And probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Jill and team had some professionals take a look at it to see what a fancy entryway to Cedar Lake could look like if we were to place one there. We put that on hiatus due to cost and other more pressing things. We've kept that on the back burner. Is this something we want to revisit, or do we want to tuck that away for a different day?
I never saw any kind of a cost proposal for it. I saw a little bit of a picture on it, I think. that they
Kind of
had.
like
They
with
did.
an archway
Wrought iron.
over the
Right.
top of the
Hey,
concrete.
Nathan,
Right.
there might be some future projects that may facilitate something like this a little bit more.
I agree. I think we're a year out. I think once we see plans, then maybe that help guides what we might do here.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a little.
good.
So we'll table it.
Yep. How's that for a cliffhanger, Rich?
I can't wait.
Rich is gonna go back and watch
Wrangling
this
it
and put
out.
this puzzle together. All right. Last is hill stability. You know what, Rich, you're such a regular. We're just gonna start calling you to ask you your opinion here.
Yeah, Rich is a citizen liaison to every commission.
I appreciate that. I really
BZA,
do.
Plan Commission, Town Council, everything.
Accountability partner.
Yep.
Hill stability. So as you wind past the Kubel development here outside of town on the right, across from State Farm, the backside of the meat place, we had them in here, I forget their name.
Across from Bartlett Wahlberg Park.
Bartlett Wahlberg Park. There has been concern and question raised as to the stability of that hill. Is that we've received nothing from our engineer that gives us great pause to say it's imminent in coming down. But the question is there anything that we should be doing to address fortification of it, beautification of it, and or I think I may even have suggested in the past, putting a walking path on or near it to help utilize that area.
Is that something that Redevelopment Commission would fix?
Yeah, that's a. it's in the
I mean, I know what that hill is. I mean, I know exactly what it is. It's
Well,
by that kebab
engineering-
place, right?
The engineering firm Burke did a analysis on it several years back and didn't find it to be in unsafe condition at all. So it may not be in danger of coming down, but there may be opportunities to beautify it as certain projects are taking place as a way to enhance the appeal of our community through that thoroughfare. So again, that might be one of those things that maybe a little bit down the road becomes a little more feasible from a beautification standpoint.
Yeah, and what I'd like for us to consider, we don't have to make a decision by no means tonight, but what does recreation look like in that hill? I think recreation, that hill can
Well, but
somehow be
That hill is also privately owned.
part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Part of it. I'm talking-
Kubiak owns a good part of it.
And a lot of people walk alongside of it. I drive through there all the time and people.
It would be cool to have like a scenic overlook of some type
to winding
overlook the lake. You know, that would be a pretty neat thing for a future recreational type project. I think that'd be pretty cool. And then you could tie it into some of the historical stuff that the Historical Association's doing with the technology where certain points of the lake, you're gonna be able to pull up an app on your phone and see it as it was 100 years ago. So maybe there's even an opportunity to tie in something historical with an overlook that you could go on your phone and see parts of the lake from a historical viewpoint. So this could be something visionary wise that could be a cool recreational type project that could bring several partners together.
There used to be
interesting
4 or 5 houses on that hill
That's pretty cool.
that people lived in.
The town does own some of it?
Some of it.
I think
I'm
there's
trying to
a
find
little
which
bit of
one.
right of way,
Yeah.
Jolie,
Oh.
that extends into it.
I see, because I'm looking at these parcels and I'm not finding one that's.
Right. We don't own the parcels, no. It's-
Okay, so if that hill came down, whose responsibility would that be? Who's supposed to secure it if it's owned by private citizens?
Private citizen.
Right.
Right.
I mean, when you said that, I thought, oh, do we own
The only
parts of
part
it?
We
And,
would have to secure is near the road.
okay, and there's concerns with that? Because I
There's
haven't,
not.
I've never,
3-4 years ago.
It was actually raised the first time, I want to say 2013. Was
Yeah,
when
because
we
I
had
remember
that
Bert
study
took a
done.
look at it.
And they found nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
No, nothing that gave a
It's-
pause.
maybe
Say
just,
we leave it alone?
It's unsightly,
Yeah,
Right.
that's,
But again, there might be a partnership opportunity in the future from a recreation standpoint with the private property owner, with the historical,
Mhm.
with the town from a recreation and lifestyle standpoint that might tie into certain other redevelopments that are going to happen in the next several years. That
What-
could be advantageous.
do we have folks actually searching for grants on staff? Because I just read the newspaper last week, the week before, Valparaiso got a significant amount of money for grants. And I'm just wondering, some of these projects that we're talking about are ripe for grant
We don't
seeding.
believe in government handouts here. That's why all these road projects are grants.
What's the legislation that we have for liquor permits, Randy?
Yeah. No, that's not a handout. That is very well-crafted legislation is what that is.
Well, so would altering and getting funds here too. So I just say that because a couple of these projects do fit the mold for grant opportunities. And I know we ask a lot of staff, but to the extent that we can keep our eyes out for grant opportunities, some of these might fit that mold.
We're pretty active with looking for grants for trails and for roads, of course, yes. But I have to echo what Randy said. I probably first 2 weeks on the job, I met with our town engineer, Don Oliphant, on that hill stability project, and I asked him about that, and he said, there's no issue with it in terms of stability. The hill is stable. It is beautification. If you want to beautify it, but you have to be careful how you do that, as I'm sure you know, because you take those trees out of there, that's what provides, those tree roots is what provides the stability to that hill.
And remember, they weren't supposed to have a blizzard in Texas either.
Yes, that's right.
We can't say what God's going to do with that hill.
Right.
No, that was global warming.
Oh.
It caused a
The
blizzard.
hill is stable. It's a-
I think living here as long as I have, I'm not an expert, but I've never seen any debris come off that hill. I've never.
Unless it was thrown by kids.
My whole objective here is to try to beautify that. We've upgraded Bartlett Wahlberg Park. We're going to do some more work there with park funds and to beautify the other side. So people that are in the park having a picnic table look at.
But in order to do that, we'll have to have Bob Kubiak on our team.
And there's
To
a,
help us do it.
Possibly
There's a
we
trust
could take part of his
that-
property.
that other property says
Just
it's in a
take it.
trust.
Just take it.
Just take it.
Otherwise-
All right, there's probably other work session topics, but we'll have one again in the future as to future plans, topics, areas that we want to address, such as recreation, trail walking, et cetera. So
Nathan,
thanks.
one thing, these blue pens, use them for your scoring sheets.
Yeah.
All INDOT stuff has to be blue ink.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I knew why we got free pens for some reason here.
That's it, Eric.
Now we know.
That's it.
Do,
All right,
it's
we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Hey,
Thank you.
Just so I got this right, these scores are what.
Ready for who?
Somewhere
So
in that
nothing
range.
higher than a one.
Nothing lower than a negative.